What is up, gamers and YouTubers, politicoers? Today I'm gonna give a little rant about why the DSA has to endorse AOC because I didn't even realize that DSA infighting was getting published in the New York Times. That's crazy. Like, I don't even see the DSA infighting on my feeds for the most part because don't try to pay attention to where the masses are at for the most part by rotting my brain on Twitter and YouTube. So, but there has been some tensions growing between the DSA. Well, I guess I don't even know. The factions are not really relevant to this conversation because, like, they're, they're the DSA caucuses are mostly irrelevant to national politics as a whole, only up until recently, I guess. Now that DSA candidates, cadre candidates, have taken power, but there's disagreements in the organization, and this happened over whether the national committee should have sent out this poll to all its members on whether to endorse or not, and I guess they decided to wait until the convention next year. Because obviously AOC will be running for president in 2028. To anybody who's been paying attention, that should have been clear. And she will be the front runner for the left flank. And I don't really see much possibility of her vote getting divided. Because Kamala Harris will likely be the centrist pick, that or Gavin Newsom or Cory Booker, and they'll all be fighting amongst themselves for, the Republican money and never Trump, the never Trump Republicans who think they have a constituency among the masses, at least. Meanwhile, non voters, young people, and the base of the Democratic Party, which probably about like 50 to 60% at least of the Democratic Party will be going with AOC when when the presidential primary even gets started. All right. And before, I hadn't read this article yet, but before we get into it, I just want to say that the strategy for DSA should be to use these electoral campaigns because, let's face it, if you're paying attention to politics all year round, you're a fucking weirdo. You're organizing political campaigns in your free time. You are in the 0.01% of the American population. Okay? I think there's a bit of an issue where, DSA people think they have to meet people where they're at internally in the organization. Well, guess what? If people are joining DSA, it already means, if they're dues paying members, it already means, for the most part, that they're radicalized and have a fairly decent political understanding, most likely, of the situation. There's only 120 members of it in a nation of, what, 360 million? Okay. So, if DSA wants to be taken as a serious organization, it has to grow where people in power actually realize, oh wait, I got to go to these guys so that I can get the people power and get have a ground game and grassroots donors. Yep. Oh, nice chatter, gamer Jame. Think of socialism being framed as a wait, hold on, as a free stuff when capitalism is just endless free stuff. Yeah, I'm not even having that conversation right now, but I'm with you there. This conversation is even less for normal people, you know, more for people who are blinded kind of by ideology into thinking, oh, we have to have a perfect candidate that will definitely be a cadre of DSA and for sure care about, whatever what DSA is about. And I don't know if people have been paying attention, but that's already who AOC was when she won her primary. Now I do not like a lot of some of the stuff she has done, you know, in office, like saying Biden and Harris are working tirelessly for a ceasefire. That was a straight up lie. She did not have to do that. And it definitely fractured like the base of like her base of support in terms of like, hey, maybe she had to make this compromise to I don't know, help defeat Trump, but you know, and then, people who just completely threw her under the bus, calling her CIA asset and whatnot. But I mean, if the CIA, even if she is a CIA asset, let's entertain that wild conspiracy theory for a little bit. Why would the CIA want someone who's identified as a democratic socialist, you know, in prominent in prominence in the media, in politics? Like she is what the fifth most popular politician according to YouGov, fourth among millennials. I mean, I'm not sure. Less popular as you get older, obviously. Fifth most popular among men. What the fuck, women? Anyway, she is one of the most popular politicians in the country. She is going to be the left flank candidate in the president right the president's in the presidential race. And if DSA doesn't have its volunteers and its organizers on the ground in the AOC campaign, then we're not going to be able to funnel that normie energy into mass collective organizing for socialism. That window will be lost, and then DSA will shrink, assuming AOC wins and, you know, the American political system stays intact after 2028. Okay. Now, we can't say, obviously, she's not going to do everything that, you know, a socialist would want. And she's probably going to do plenty of stuff to piss people off, but that is such a bad reason to not endorse, like, okay, we're going to just, we call ourselves, the organization calls itself Democratic Socialists, but we're going to opt out of the mainstream, out of the democratic process in America because the candidate who's viable and closest to our worldview might do stuff that we don't like. and then that's going to ruin our name. As if anybody took DSA seriously prior to these New York City wins. They didn't. Sorry, hate to break it to the DSA Andes, but nobody took DSA seriously prior to these New York City wins. And what Hassan, with what Hassan has been doing too to get others like Rab and Maui and Maylot Kuros elected. Okay. To be taken seriously as a political organization, you actually have to have political power in the system. Otherwise, you're just a group that reads books and, I don't know, has a garden, you know? And then maybe gets some businesses to, vocally support your positions. Like, at least from where I am in Texas, DSA is very unserious and in terms of actual influence, the ability to organize. Now, that's probably different on the East Coast where there's more density and money and ideological alignment with the voter base. But nationwide, DSA is still a joke, low key, even though we got some wins under our belt. Okay. In this kind of infighting, I mean, the only people who are going to even care about this being published are like DC, New York people who do this stuff professionally. And then also people who work for DSA and spend a lot of their time organizing for DSA. They're like, this conversation will not enter the normie sphere at all. So it's just interesting that this even got published on the New York Times because, like, wow, there are political disagreements inside a democratic organization that's, that barely has gotten its feet in the water, that can barely swim. You know what I mean? And for the people who think we shouldn't endorse AOC, okay, just see yourself out of the politics conversation entirely and I don't know, go do something else because like or go do some ground game or I don't know, ice watch, go do more direct action. That's your thing, okay? Because I'm sorry, but have you met the average American? The average American doesn't even know that electoral primaries doesn't even know when the primaries in their own state were this year. They don't pay attention. They probably don't even realize, you know, that there's going to be a midterm election coming up unless there's like a really exciting candidate with a lot of ground game and outreach. Okay. So we got to meet people where they're at, and they'll be paying attention when AOC announces her campaign. And then those people will probably be a lot of those people will probably be activated as volunteers, donors to go to rallies, door knock, um, phone banks. Like that's when the normie space actually gets activated to participate. Okay. That's where you actually can find a funnel to get these people in the organization. Otherwise, like I said, DSA will shrink, and after AOC is elected, because then it's like, okay, well, what did DSA do to get AOC in office if we weren't on the ground supporting her, helping her volunteers get organized, helping her fundraise? The legitimacy of the organization will be lost, especially among people who, aren't convinced by ideas, but more so results in the electoral space. Like, we can tell people to go read theory or go read this book or whatever all day long, but, you know, you have to actually get them invested and interested enough to go do that in the first place. And you do that in America via elections. Okay. Anyway, did I read this whole article? And I don't mean that elections are the end game. I just mean that is where the masses pay attention. Okay. What might have felt like a pep rally for the Democratic Socialists of America, a meeting of the group's National Political Committee to discuss the 2028 presidential election, turned into a bruising, acrimonious afternoon. What, was she sitting in on this Zoom meeting or something? Some 320 members of the organization had gathered on Zoom on Sunday to decide on a process for a presidential endorsement. Members were fresh off a set of head-spinning victories for DSA-backed candidates in New York, including in 2 House primaries and a handful of state legislative races. Oh yeah, and I should also mention that these races were won because you could put people's name, you could put politicians like AOC and Bernie endorsed these guys behind them. Like normal people don't know what the fuck DSA is still, even to this day. Okay? And, but they do know Bernie. I mean, a lot of people, like maybe 30 to 20% of the population don't know who Bernie Sanders is or AOC. But that is where you get the masses because they know they like Bernie, they know they like AOC, and they're living their life otherwise. So if you tell them, hey, this guy's going to be a Bernie for us, this woman's going to be in our kind of AOC in our district, that's how you get people activated to actually go to the polls. They say, what? I can actually vote for an AOC and then get that person in Congress? I'm writing their name down right now. Duh. I have to look into. Okay. And then when you tell them, hey, DSA, there's this whole organization that has a different view of how we do politics and how politics should be organized. That's when you can actually get people into the education and actually get them engaged in class struggle. Because otherwise, Fox News right now is doing their best to drive up DSA's negatives among its, boomer, brain dead, brain mush base who will, after the last couple months of news coverage, see DSA's name and be like, terrorism is on our shores, right? After, you know, the last month of Fox News coverage or whatever. Anyway, um, did I get everything I wanted to mention in there? I probably should have formed this rant a little better. What do you think, Gamer Jame? Do we concur? DSA should endorse AOC and get its volunteers on the ground ASAP. Anyway, yeah. And if you want to introduce the masses to DSA, that is the way that is at least what has been the most effective method thus far. Because, that is where people, that is how Americans think about politics. That is effectively the only way towards popularizing socialism in this country. Having socialists run and then, actually be there for the people on TV, on the TV, on the streets, presenting their policies, presenting their accomplishments. Okay. Because you're not going to go get, your average liberal to go read Grover Furr or Jay Sakai or, you know, whatever, just by being like, well, we got this community garden and business campaign, and we're also like those things are all good, okay? But it doesn't actually grow the movement effectively. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts. ESA, please endorse AOC ASAP. Like, let's get serious. She's the only one to win. Like, who else is it gonna be? Like, if y'all want to be taken seriously and not just, look like a bunch of Green Party spoilers to, the libtarded masses, you actually have to get in on the ground for these campaigns. It shouldn't even be a question. It's so annoying that it is. Anyway, if you concur, if you agree, I don't know. Fuck me. Um, YouTubers, gamers, Zogbots, peace out. I have a headache. Also, like and subscribe keeps me going. Seeing one subscriber added to my 27 subscriber channel. I'm doing it for the fans. Even though you could probably get more entertaining and more well-spoken takes from Mike from PA or Hassan. Anyway, have a good one. Like and subscribe, please. Bye bye.